Hello and welcome to the Accessible Technology Podcast, where you get to hear all about the everyday technology that is accessible for disabled people, as well as hearing about what tech isn't accessible, and where you also get to hear about whatever tips I would give to technology companies to make their tech even more accessible. My name is Phoebes, and I am a wannabe technology journalist who is interested in writing about how technology is becoming more accessible for disabled people and how it can get even more accessible for disabled people, which is something that I have had a really big interest in for years now, despite being paralysed from the neck down. You can listen to this podcast by searching for it on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and Spotify. So please check it out if you would like to keep on following what's coming up in the next episode. However, if you'd like to support the podcast and the content I produce in other ways, you can also support it by going over to the Phoebes Now Buy Me a Coffee page, which is where you will also be able to find exclusive episodes that aren't part of the podcast, as well as checking out a shop that I plan to open at some stage where you'll be able to buy other products, so please consider checking it out. In today's episode, you're going to be hearing my views on the Nintendo Switch, which I first did in a video and a blog that was first uploaded to YouTube on the 17th of August 2019, and which will be included as the main bit of audio in this episode. However, some sound effects may be added to make it sound like a really immersive experience. Before I get fully into this episode, however, please let me add a couple of additional notes that talk about Nintendo's lack of accessibility features and about some other views that I have on Nintendo, just so I can make it seem that I deserve slightly less backlash. And hopefully I don't get as much by adding this in. Firstly, I have been a Nintendo fan in the past, having got my first DS when I was around 8 years old, which is about to turn 8 years old, and I even continued to use a DS up until I was about 14 or 15, when I started to want to play more challenging games, but couldn't really try any of them out because a lot of it wasn't accessible. I understood that Nintendo once said that they were once aiming on bringing out a version of the Xbox Adaptive Controller for the Nintendo Switch, but that now seems to have been lost. And although I know the Hori Flex controller has come out, it still comes at a higher price than the Xbox Adaptive Controller, and also doesn't have a version of Copilot, which Xbox has, and which PlayStation's Project Leonardo controller is rumored to include a version of as well. However, It is important to note that some Nintendo games do have good accessibility features, including Mario Kart 8, which I believe has an auto accelerate feature, and I have also tried out a custom DS on my YouTube channel recently, and have also tried out a couple more accessible hacks to Nintendo consoles to see if there's anything that I could do to be able to play more games, and some more of those videos might be out on the YouTube channel already by the time you are hearing this review. So please check that out if you would like to see anything else that I'm doing on Nintendo to make myself seem less biased. But with all of that said, let's now get into the episode. Nintendo is another of the big technology giants, which owns some of the biggest video game characters and consoles. In 2017, they launched the Nintendo Switch, a hybrid console that can be used as a stationary and portable device. Coming with a Switch console, left and right Joy-Cons, Joy-Con which tracks the Joy-Con with the Nintendo Switch dock, an HDMI cable and an AC adapter. It is designed to give gamers an independent gaming experience. The Joy-Cons act as the left and right sticks, and while some buttons like A, B, X, and Y are on the front, others which are needed to operate other actions are on the side. This is what I feel sends a message to me that although I want to play the same games as my non-disabled peers, I'm not allowed to. So I don't. I like the Nintendo Switch. For years, I was a fan of everything Nintendo, watching eagerly for every updated version of the DS and looking forward to the Wii U. When I first heard about the Nintendo Switch, I felt exactly the same way. But when I found out it wouldn't be accessible for someone like myself, to say I was disappointed would be an understatement. Not having a way to attach adaptive switches or joysticks makes me feel like I'm not allowed to enjoy it. And with Nintendo continuously ignoring calls for any accessibility features, makes me sorry to say that they've lost a customer. My ideal hope is for them to create a Nintendo adaptive controller, but if they didn't want to do that, I would happily support them following PlayStation's example and allowing you to change the accessibility features to be accessible towards your needs. One thing I would like to point out to them is that Microsoft have moved to making their platform more accessible. Sony, while not brilliant, or at least moving towards making PlayStation more accessible. So what is Nintendo doing? Overall, I will give the Nintendo Switch 1 star. How accessible have you found the Nintendo Switch in the past? Do you have any experiences trying to play games on the Nintendo Switch? If you have a physical disability or know someone who does, or have even had quite a lot of injuries in the past? And how easy or hard did you find it? And were there any games you found easy at all to play? or that you would be able to play with touchscreen controls, or to remap to anything to make it seem more accessible. I would happily buy a Switch and check out games like Splatoon, Zelda and other Mario type games if it was. But until Nintendo catches up, what do you do? Maybe gamers of all abilities getting just as angry as well will work or start protesting against it. But like, how realistic is it that every gamer in the world will happily give up their Nintendo Switches just to get one thing? If you would like to pass on some of your thoughts to me, however, you can include them in a review wherever you're listening to this on, as well as via the contact pages over on my Phoebes Loud Tech Reviews site, which is linked below, or on my other website, phoebeloud.com, which is also linked below. If you're interested in watching the videos on accessible technologies that I have done in the past, you can find more over on my PL Tech Reviews YouTube channel. And if you would like to see a couple of my accessible tourism reviews, as well as my film, TV, theatre reviews and political videos, you can see them by searching for Phoebes Loud Journalism on YouTube. You can also follow my other podcast, the Phoebes Loud Podcast, by searching for it on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and Spotify, where you get everything that I cover on Phoebes Loud Journalism and podcast form, with some tech news stuck in there as well. The next episode that comes out will be the first of my audio tutorials, which will be on how to access the accessibility options that come with the iPhone X, although that tutorial can also apply to newer models of the iPhone as well. And then we'll be starting on the most accessible games you can play on iPhones. So thanks for listening to this complete podcast episode the whole way through if you've got to the end. And please consider following it if you like what I'm doing and giving it a share. I plan to update this podcast twice a week until the 12th of August 2023, when I might have to change things around. But honestly, I could get more regular before then, so I can fit in more reactions to other tech stories throughout the year. But please just stick with me here, guys. But anyhow, that's all for now. So thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!